let's talk about one of the biggest headaches in business. How in the world do you pick the right price? Well, it's not about guesswork. Today, we're going to look at two super powerful economic tools that'll help you find not just your financial starting line, but your absolute profit peak. Let's get into it. I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? If you price too high, you might scare everybody away. But if you price too low, you're basically just leaving money on the table. So how do you find that perfect sweet spot for maximum profit? Stick with me because we're about to break it down. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture, the pricing puzzle. Then we'll hunt down your profit peak. And after that, we'll calculate your starting line. We'll even do a real calculation to put it all into practice, and then wrap up by showing you how these tools fit into your strategic toolkit. First up, the pricing puzzle. Because let's be honest, a price isn't just some random number. It's this delicate dance between what customers are willing to pay, what your stuff actually costs to make, and of course, the profit you're trying to earn. You know, at the end of the day, it's all a balancing act. The absolute bare minimum is that your price has to cover your costs. That's just to keep the lights on. But to really get ahead, you have to get this relationship between demand, cost, and profit. And luckily for us, there are two fantastic ways to crack this code: marginal analysis and break-even analysis. All right, let's grab our first tool, marginal analysis. This is all about finding that perfect top-of-the-mountain sweet spot where your business is making the most profit it possibly can. So, what does that actually mean in plain English? It's really simple. Marginal analysis just answers one basic question: is it worth it to make just one more? By looking at the cost and the revenue of that one single extra item, we can figure out the exact point where we should stop. Okay, let's break this chart down. You see that green curve? That's your marginal cost. At first, it zips down. That's because you're getting efficient, you're in the groove. But then, see how it starts to climb back up? That's what happens when you start to stretch your resources thin. That line literally shows you the cost of making just one more. Now, on the flip side, we've got marginal revenue. This is the extra cash that lands in your pocket from selling, you guessed it, just one more. For a lot of businesses, this line slopes down. Why? Because to sell more and more, you usually have to drop the price a little bit. And now, this is where it all comes together. When you lay those two curves on top of each other, bam! Look right there, where the red cost curve crosses the blue revenue curve. That's Q, your optimal quantity. If you produce any less, you're leaving money on the table. If you produce any more, each new item is actually losing you money. That intersection, that is your golden number. Okay, so finding the peak is amazing, but you can't climb a mountain if you don't even know where base camp is, right? That's where our second tool, break-even analysis, comes into play. This is all about survival. The break-even point is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that precise moment where you're not losing money anymore, but you haven't started making a profit yet either. Your total costs equal your total revenue. You've officially broken even. It's your financial starting line. And if you look at this graph, it's crystal clear. The purple line shows all your costs going up. The green line is all the money coming in. Right where they cross, that's the break-even point. Every single thing you sell to the left of that point is a loss. Everything to the right, welcome to the land of profit. And here's the best part. This isn't just some abstract idea on a chart. You don't have to guess. There's a simple, straightforward formula you can use to calculate this exact point. Let's see how it works. So, let's put this tool to work. We're going to get our hands dirty and walk through a real calculation step by step. No more guessing. Let's find the actual number. It's really just 3 simple steps. First, you add up all your fixed costs. That's stuff like rent and salaries that you have to pay no matter what. In our example, it's $120,000. Second, you figure out how much each sale helps pay for those costs. Here, we sell something for $100, and it costs $60 to make, so we get a $40 contribution from each one. Finally, you just divide your big fixed costs by that little per unit contribution. And there you have it, 3,000 units. That's the magic number. This business needs to sell exactly 3,000 items just to cover its bills. But that 3,000 in first sale, that's when the party starts. That's pure profit. So let's bring this all home. We've just added 2 incredibly powerful but very, very different tools to your strategic pricing toolkit. And each one has a totally different job. Think of it this way. Break-even analysis is all about survival. It answers the question, what's the bare minimum I have to sell just to stay in business? It's your starting line. Marginal analysis, on the other hand, is about thriving. It's about finding that perfect sweet spot to squeeze out every last drop of profit. You've got to know your starting line before you can even think about aiming for the peak. And that brings us to the final question, and this one's for you. Now that you've got these two tools in your back pocket, which question is more important for your business right now? Are you just trying to figure out where your starting line is, or are you ready to go find your peak? Thanks for watching.